I still can't believe this deck got first place in OCG. Now, I want to say first off that I don't know the pool of players. It doesn't specify how many people were at this tournament. Keep in mind, some of these OCG tournaments are smaller. I'm not sure if it was different schools that were battling, but there were also different players playing Spirals on this list. So I don't want to say that, like, you know, I want to take anything away from the guy at the top with Cubics, but the guy did it, alright? So congrats to him, and it's kind of a meme in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. For those of you guys that don't know Cubics, I'll briefly explain the deck because I did try to play the deck because, you know, it was for the Yu-Gi-Oh movie that came out a while back, but the deck is not that bad, alright? It's not the best deck, and what I think is really interesting is this guy's extra deck. I mean, this guy got Stardust Dragon, he's got 3 other cards. That's it. Like, he only had 4 cards, but that's all he needed. He didn't need Link Monsters. He wasn't interested, I guess, in Link format. But anyways, congrats to the guy that did take first place over in OCG. You could basically run this deck in TCG. I mean, the only difference would be like Maxi and Harpy's Feather Duster, and then that's it. Like you can make this deck definitely viable. Heck, you throw Regeki in here, Dark Hole. This card is actually really strong. Like I actually do know Cubics a little bit, like I said, because I tried to build the deck and I tried different variants for hyping up the Yu-Gi-Oh movie deck. I tried making it, but it's not really necessarily going to be a competitive deck. But the guy took first place. I still can't believe it. With this deck, it's interesting, but let's go ahead and get started, and I'll explain some of the stuff briefly because I know that there might be players like, what the heck's a Cubic? Like, I've never seen these cards. Where are their blue cards? There's no links. Maybe Cubics will get a Link Monster one day, Kappa, but let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. And like I said, guys, there were Spirals on like this other like high school list, so I don't know if you know, the guy just got lucky, he believed in the heart of the cards, or is the deck actually really that good? It's an underrated underdog deck, but let's go and get started. So first off, we've got one copy of Cyframe Driver. This is a level 6 monster that works pretty well with Cyframe Gear Gamma, which can actually work pretty good. If you want to make Stardust Dragon, I feel like this card is definitely outdated, but the man's a legend, alright? Next up, we have 3 copies of Crimson Nova, the Dark Cubic Lord. This is basically your win condition in the deck. There's also, like, technically there's some, like, burn damage, but the main win condition is Crimson Nova. So you special summon him by revealing 3 Cubic cards in your hand with different names. And then what you do is, it also has the effect of being immune to everything that has 3,000 or less attack. And then on top of that, whenever it destroys a monster by battle, and it has 3,000 attack, so you're able to attack again in a row, and then on top of that, during your end phase, each player takes 3,000 damage. So if they potentially have 2 monsters, you can, like, you know, kill both of them, and then on top of that, you can just burn for another 3,000. So that's kind of like a win condition in the deck. Next up, we have, like, basically what gets everything in the deck started, which is actually Duja or Duza, which is what it got its name changed, the Meteor Cubic Vessel. So when it's normal or special summon, you get to send 1 Cubic card from your deck to the graveyard, and all of them really have like really great effects. And then once per turn, during either player's turn, if a monster was sent to your graveyard this turn while this card was face upon the field, you can make this card gain 200 attack for each monster with a different name in your graveyard. So this could potentially get a lot of attack, but it's not too common to get this card up to like 5,000 attack. It's not going to be like that, but it is a card that it gets some stats. You know, you can get like 2 pretty easy. But the thing is that you really want it for its effect of sending someone to the graveyard. They actually have really good support for banishing. I'm just going to go over the banish effect right now. I'll go over the full effect and kind of talk a little about them once I get to them, but I wanted to go over like just like the important part of the effect. So the main goal of the deck is basically to send some of the support, like the spell trap, to the graveyard, because they have bonus effects when you banish them. So when you banish the Cubic Wave, you get to you banish this card and any number of Cubic monsters from your graveyard. Then you target face-up monsters your opponent controls equal to the number of those banished Cubic monsters. You place a Cubic counter on each of them, and then if they have a Cubic counter, they can't attack, and it negates their effect. So you have options to do that. And then with the Cubic Karma, this one's a little bit more conditional, but anyways, during your opponent's turn, if V-Jam the Cubic Seed is special summoned by the effect of a Cubic monster, you send this card to the graveyard. If you do, you get to half your opponent's life points. And then, also, for the other effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard to add 1 Cubic monster from your deck to your hand. So this one is like another searcher. And then on top of that, you have unification of the Cubic Lords. So when you Banish this card from your graveyard, you get to special summon 1 level 4 lower cubic monster from your hand or deck, ignoring summoning condition. If you do, it can be destroyed by battle or by card effects this turn. So this can be technically used for exceeding. I guess you can theoretically use it for going for some link summons, but for the most part, I mean, well, this build didn't have any links. I don't think cubics really need links. I mean, God Cowboy is definitely a good card. The reason why is because when you go for a Crimson Nova, sometimes if you attack twice, they'll survive with like very little life points because you're going to do another 3,000 points of damage to them. Well, technically, you will also be taking that, so keep that in mind too. But it's just sometimes you need like some extra damage. So like, I think Cowboy was a great card in the extra deck, although I really question the Stardust Dragon, to be honest, but I mean, the guy's a legend, alright? Let's not take anything away from him. Next up, we got Summoner Monk. This lets you special summon a level 4 monster, which is going to be 90% of the time Duja or Duza. Next up, we have the Buster Gundle. So, you send 3 cubic monsters you control to the graveyard to special summon him, and then it gains 3,000 attack, and it can make a second and third attack during each battle phase. So you guys get the idea. Like the boss monsters in the deck, they can attack multiple times, and then if it's sent from your possession to the graveyard by battle by card effect, you can target up to 3 cubic monsters in your graveyard and special summon them, and then you can add a cubic card from your deck or graveyard to your hand, so that gives you searchability also with this technically, but you usually will be banishing them. I don't really like this card too much, but it can definitely be useful at the right times. Next up we have Gen X Ally Birdman, so lets you like bounce back this guy. He can then of course get its effect later down the line. And then also there's technically this card where you can banish it and then summon it again, so it kind of opens up the loops. No, not well, it's not really like an infinite loop, but it's a small little loop that you can like get double effects. Pretty good stuff indeed. And then next up we got the double copies of the Vulcan Dragini, the Cubic King. So this one you send 2 cubic monsters you control to the graveyard, and then it gains 1,600 attack, and if it's special summoned from the hand, you get to actually burn your opponent for 800 points damage. Like I said again, sometimes you're just short of making a game, so this card can really help out. But then if this card battled, you can target up to 3 VGM the Cubic Seed in your graveyard and send this card to the graveyard. If you do, you get to special summon them, then you can add 1 in Endoria, the Doomvolt, the Cubic Emperor from your deck to your hand. So a lot of them like search out like another card, but it's like I said, it's very small for like the times that it will actually be viable. But next up we got the Cyframe or the Cyframe Gear Gamma. I haven't seen this guy in a while, but I mean, there's a lot of times where like randomly you'll see like Cyframes just like thrown in as like a tech for like a hand trap. But anyways, during either player's turn, when your opponent activates a monster effect while you control no monsters, you can special summon both this card from your hand and 1 Cyframe Driver from your hand, deck, or graveyard. So this gets you out the Cyframe Driver, and then you can instantly, it's the card where you instantly go straight into it. During the end phase, banish this. Okay, hold on. Negate the activation if you destroy that monster. Okay, so I think this is just basically used because I want to say potentially he couldn't afford Ash Blossom. I mean, this is kind of what it would be used for. I think it's the field spell allows you to instantly go for a synchro, but I guess it prevents you from getting OTK'd, and also potentially, you know, that turn 1 play, if your opponent's going first and you just go for this, obviously they're not going to be attacking. If they go into something that's getting rid of this, well, that's not the end of the world. But yeah, I think it's crazy that he's actually playing this. But next up we got double copies of Maxi, 2 copies of Gira, the Cubic King. So this one, it's again, it does, well actually this one, if special summon this way by sending 1 cubic monster you control to the graveyard, it gains 800 attack, and then it also burns for 800. Again, it's kind of mediocre, but if this card battled, you can target up to 2 VGM the Cubic Seeds in your graveyard, send this card to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon them. If you do, you can add 1 of the, what was the other cubic that it adds? This one also adds 1 up. It's, it lets you add 1 cubic, it lets you add Dragini over here. So I just feel like those cards are a little bit too slow, but you gotta play some of the extra cubics here. Now, next up we're running into the actual important like core of the engine, the VGM the Cubic Seed. So it can't be destroyed by battle. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled an opponent's monster, you can place this card face up in your spell and trap zone as a continuous spell card. And if you do place 1 cubic counter on that monster, again, their effects are negated and they cannot attack. And then if this card is treated as a continuous spell card by this effect, during your main phase, you can special summon this card from your spell and trap zone to like the monster zone. Where is it? Oh, whoops! I'm mousing over the wrong card. I was like, wait, why did VGM gain like 3,000 attack? My bad. It's been a while since I played Cubics, but I did definitely play like a bunch of them. Again, it was for the Yu-Gi-Oh movie. And then you can actually special summon it to the main, and during the main phase, you can special summon this to your. You can special summon this card from your spell and trap zone. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, it just can put itself back on the board, and if they destroy it, then it goes back, and then basically you're going to be stalling. That's kind of the point of this card. And also, like I said, it has some synergy with it, and because it can be a cubic monster, it can help out with some of the other things. But next up, we got Harpy's Feather Duster, self-explanatory. Next up, Cubic Wave. So this one lets you target a cubic monster you control and one face-up monster your opponent controls. The attack of that monster you control becomes double its current attack, and if it does, the attack of that monster your opponent controls becomes half its current attack. So that can work pretty well, again, with some of these other cards. And then again, with that whole advantage, you gotta place the cubic counters, negate the effects, and make it so they can't attack. Next up, 2 copies of Pot of Desires, 3 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, lets you send your Cubic Wave, your Cubic Karma, or your Cubic Lords card to the graveyard. And then we have 3 copies of Twin Twister because honestly, you're gonna be breaking a lot in this deck. Like, you don't want to draw certain cards, like you don't need this card, so go for it. Technically with these, you can only activate one of them per turn. So I mean, if you really need to go faster, you can get rid of that. But I mean, the deck is crazy, dude. And the guy's playing Hand Destruction in 2017. This guy's a madman. Again, this deck actually got first place. I'm really surprised by it, but again, it's interesting. I like seeing unique decks. Next up, we have Cubic Karma. So this lets you target a cubic monster you control, except for the Cubic Seed Vijayam. You send any number of Vijayam the Cubic Seed from your hand and/or deck to the graveyard. That monster gains 800 attack for each, even if it leaves the field. And then, again, you can half your opponent's life points if, during your opponent's turn, if Vijayam the Cubic Seed is special summoned by the effect of Cubic Monster, bam, you can half your opponent's life points. And then next up, we have Unification of the Cubic Lord. So this one lets you fusion summon 1 cubic fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand. It doesn't really matter. It's really, we don't even play it in this build. I mean, the guy, he didn't even have them. I still think that this is crazy. Again, I know I'm mentioning it several times, but the guy only had 4 cards in the extra deck, and he didn't even play the Cubic Fusion. But yeah, we're just using this to special summon a level 4 lure cubic monster from your hand or deck, which is usually going to be this guy, which is then going to get you to send another card to the graveyard. But that's the deck, guys. Interesting stuff. I got to give the man props for playing something super interesting. But I want to say, if you were to take this into a serious duel, you'd probably get bodied, but, you know, believe in the heart of the cards and just get those Stardust Dragons out, and you'll be ready to negate anything that's going to get rid of your Nova. I mean, honestly, the win condition is Nova, but I feel like this is, it got lucky. I mean, let's be honest here. It's probably not going to be the most competitive thing, but if you want to try something new, have some fun, and maybe you don't want to play Link deck, this deck can definitely function without Links, and it's not that bad, alright? It's not like Crystal Beast in 2017. Actually, I don't know, maybe Crystal Beast with that new support might be better than this, but overall, it's a meme deck in the community, so I had to give you guys the deck profile for this one. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the vid. If you enjoyed the Cubics, drop a like on it. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button to see more unique Yu-Gi-Oh deck profiles. Again, first place OCG confirmed best deck.